Hi, everybody. Mark Hanna here, Hothead Thundermouth. Unscripted, uncensored, unapologetic, psychologically immune from social media control. I bring to you this day a disbagging, I'm calling it a disbagging rather than an unboxing or an unbagging, of ASL Journal 16. I don't do these like other people do, where I go through all the components and look at each scenario and talk about it or anything like that. I'm going to look through some of these articles here. I'm going to go through the components that I care about, which are mostly the maps, and some of the scenarios I'm sure are pretty good too. But it's the only way to get the maps quick. You got to buy the journals. You got to buy this stuff at the end of the year, the things they offer. What is it? Winter's End? No, not Winter's End. I can't remember the name of it, but they have them. Winter Offensive, I guess it is. So that's the other place you can get maps. Journal 16 does not have deluxe maps. They have maps that I want. So I went through all of this. Did also talk about some nearly bad customer service from MMP. I did get an answer within 24 hours, which more or less makes up for some of the El Crapo part of the customer service. But in the main, it's not just MMP, but I think they're one of the worst. These publishers just don't know how to handle the retail market. It's always better probably to buy through a retailer than it is directly from the publisher. That's always been my experience, and it hasn't changed recently here on this. Dumb Coffee and Thinking. This is going to be about some ways of thinking about the rules, ways of looking at things. I'll talk about that. Hothead Thundermouth, I got to make some kind of statement here. So pay attention. You'll see. If you like this, subscribe. If you don't like it, don't subscribe. If you didn't like it, say so. If you liked it, say so. Comment if you like. Look forward to hearing what you have to say about this. Let's move on. Thank you for watching. Okay, so here I am doing not an unboxing, but a unbagging, I suppose. The ASL Journal 16 came in today. I do buy these journals mostly for the maps. It's the only way to get the maps quickly is you got to buy it with this journal. So here it is, just opening it up. The ASL Journal 16. Now the other interesting thing about this journal is that it did include some errata, which is actually rules changes. So supposedly that's in here, but that's already been uploaded to the online rule book for the official one, that is, from MMP. There's also a couple of copycat ones floating around that you can get from the internet, which apparently they've been allowing for a long time, as long as you don't advertise and make a big deal of it and try to make money off of it. All right, so I normally don't do these things, but I did want to highlight what it is about these journals that I don't really, get too excited about of actually reading much of it. Okay, so let's see if we can zoom in here on this. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so we have some articles here. You see if you can see this. A view from the mound from the esteemed Kurt Schilling, one of the few people I really like. Okay, we have article here by Bishop. Control Freaks. Usually he has some interesting articles. A lot of these don't teach me anything I don't already know. An after action report. Again, if you're really into the hobby and this is really something you suck up, I used to be like this, and you really get into every little thing here, that's kind of interesting. Anything by Pleva and Mike McGrath, I'm going to put some weight on. I'll probably definitely read this article called A Better ASL. No-brainers. Perrycock, that might be interesting because he does a lot of the rules. If not all of them. At least he approves them all as far as I know. Okay, debriefing by the editors. Sounds boring, probably won't read it. Kharkov in Flames designer notes. I've never been a big fan of designer notes. the alt OBA, predictability in OBA systems. Nah, not going to read it. Let's see. Pre-combat check. Pre-combat check. Sean Deller's a nice guy. None of these are bad guys. Don't get me wrong here. Some are more likable than others, let's just say. SF-20 through the breach into the fire. SF-20, huh? I don't really know what that's going to be about. And then the battle for Carpe K. I guess that's something that's in here. So anyway, they got all this stuff. I'm not going to go through all of these things. Really, probably the first ever ASL World Championship, blah, blah, blah. Okay, whatever. There's been a bunch of world championships, as far as I can tell, over the years. With any of these, I guess the ones officially now. All right, so this is what I'm interested in. We got a bunch of scenarios here. Usually these can be good. So that's why we get this, right? There's two reasons I get this. These scenarios, I'm not going to go through all of them. And the only way to get the boards quickly, the new boards, because I seem to be a fanatic. I want all of the boards, official boards. They've started to put these paths through, I guess, to make these wheat fields look more realistic now. Another pathway through. Actually, I'm not sure. This is not actually intended to affect the movement costs through these, as far as I can tell. Unless there's a rule for that they're coming up with. I don't know if there is. They've changed the look of the orchards to be more orchardy looking instead of round dots, which means all the other maps that you have that don't have these nice orchardy things will not look as good. They should have just kept the same motif. I don't know why they changed something like that. That, I would say, is a mistake. Okay. Rather normal farmish board. That's all right. Okay, be good to fight on. Then we have this one. Looks like a bombarded village of some kind. We have a lot of shell holes all over the place. Here they even put debris out in the middle of nowhere. I don't know what's out here that's causing debris. That's rather strange looking. Are they trying to make this look like a runway here? That's very interesting. If they're trying to make this look like a runway, again, this will not work. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 times 40 is 320 meters. Most these things are at least 1 kilometer long. And there's no single ASL board that actually represents that worth a goddamn. Okay, but I think that's what they're trying to do, because they have these. This looks like a bombed out airfield. Is that what they're trying to make this look like? Okay. Interesting looking. This looks like these where you taxi the airplanes to different pads here. So I think they're trying to make this sort of airfield look. And you've got these. These look like they're going to be treated as, well, they got roads going into them. I suppose you could treat them as factories, or you could treat them as just a building with a road going into it. It's a hangar, really. I would think you treat them as a factory during gameplay. Okay, here's an interesting looking building. What is this? Is that an amphitheater they're trying to put here? Yeah. Maybe this is supposed to be in Greece or something. That's in ruin. I don't know. No, interesting. Interesting board. Okay. We have the usual pink thing. Oh, this is a errata. Each building on board 96 that has a road emerging is a factory. Hey, all right. Look at my anticipatory skills. They're just amazing. So, yes, they meant to have those little things as factories. But then they forgot to put the rule in the scenario about that. Very funny. Okay, I got to set that aside. Okay, then we have this. This is their usual, we at MMP are dedicated to perfection and customer satisfaction. Yeah, well, you didn't do a very good job with my recent order that I placed with your factory for the sale, directing this towards Scott and Kurt Schilling and the customer service team. I placed an order here in England for a sale item and did everything on there that I supposed to have done, and then they came back and canceled the order summarily because it didn't meet some so-called Brexit requirement of the minimum product value of being $185. Now, MMP, Kurt Schilling, okay, Scott over there, you guys hardly have any products worth $185, so that is nonsense. The other thing is, if you're going to have a restriction like that, you should put it in your sales literature. You should put it in your terms and conditions. You should have it on the order form. You should have it everywhere under the sun. So I'm not wasting my time placing orders you will not fulfill, and you're not wasting your time correcting orders that you will not fulfill. So it's very disappointing. Now, I know that publishers generally don't do a very good job with customer service, and they really are not tailored towards serving the community directly. But MMP, you're one of the worst. I am so sorry, but GMT knows how to do it. Columbia Games knows how to do it. I've never had as much trouble with a company as I do with yours. So that's all I have to say, MMP. But you guys are on notice for being absolute... I won't use the word. Okay? I won't use the word. Okay, so here we go. All right, so here's the rest of all this. What is all this? Oh. This looks like an interesting suggestions and responses. What is this? This looks interesting. This is, The No-Brainers by Perry Koch. Yeah, Barry, I'll tell you what's a no-brainer that you should fix right here. You see these roads that are coming off the end right here? A5 and A6. If you come in on A6 using the road movement rate, then somebody places residual firepower here, they shouldn't be allowed to use the road movement rate in A5 to bypass the residual firepower here. The residual firepower is placed on the road. Okay, now I asked you about this, Perry Koch, Mr. No-Brainer, and you didn't act like you had a brain when you answered it. Obviously, the problem is with the rule itself. Okay, I asked him, is there a rule like this? Should there be a rule like this? There is no rule like this, Marcano. There is no... I know there's no rule, Perry. I just remember back in 1990 or so when I was learning this, 97 maybe, I was playing with a couple of good guys in California at the time, and they said, look, on these board edge traces, just remember, if you come in on one side of it, that's where the road is for the rest of the game. And I was like, well, that makes sense. That seems sensible. I didn't realize it was a house rule that they'd come up with. But it totally makes sense. And I got into an argument with a guy. I think it probably ended our relationship as a player because he just would not see the sense that if you're coming down this road and there's a bunch of residual firepower here, that you should not be allowed to then shift your trucks, still use the road rate, but pretend you're coming in on this road over here. And there are just some people who will not be flexible enough to discuss rules in a rational fashion. All they'll say to you is, well, there's not a rule for that. Yeah, but this is supposed to be a simulation of combat. Well, you're always going to get these guys, and I love these guys. They crack me up, okay? They know who they are. One's from Switzerland. There's a couple of other ones that there was an Australian guy who was also supercilious about this. They basically, you'll talk about, well, this is a building and there's stuff in there. And they love to come up with this. If they can't explain something, their usual excuse is something like this. Well, this isn't actually representative of the actual terrain, and this is only a game, and, don't try to be too realistic when you're talking about ASL. And this always cracks me up because we're trying to play a tactical game with a lot of level of detail. Now, you look at these tanks, and they're representative having a certain thickness of armor, for example. There's penetration values for each of the
guns that are shooting at them. Those are based on realistic information. The maps are based on realistic terrain from 1940s, roads, buildings, fields. Don't tell me we can't use a realism argument for the rules. Okay, especially just because you don't have enough brain cells to rub together to try to explain your point in a manner that refutes the realism argument. My argument here, okay, is, hey, if you're coming in on the road here and you have subsequent vehicles using the road and there's residual firepower here, you shouldn't have to put it here. Why? Because if somebody's using the road right here or even entering the hex, they are going to take the residual firepower because it covers the entire hex. But for some reason, there's these anomalous hexes. There's 2 on this side of the map. There's 2 on that side of the map. Now, it would be funny if Perry had brought this up in his no-brainers section. And let's see, fire lanes, malfunctions, repair timing, vehicle ambush. Let's see, AFVs that are vulnerable, detection, human waves. Okay, here he's talking about vehicle control of the cruise. Okay, I'm sure all of this is interesting. Notice that a lot of it has something to do with reality here. It's not some abstract game like checkers or chess, Mr. Man from Switzerland. This is a tactical war game of World War II. Bocage crossings, okay, foxholes, ground pressure, wire removal, roadblock extension LOS, discussion on that. All right, placing of OBA, pre-registered chit draws, movement, defensive first fire, bounding fire process. This is quite a long article here. Well, Perry put some effort into this. Worth some time here. Intensive fire, acquisitions, target size, and smoke. Yeah, that's come up before. People don't like that target size for smoke. Shock, recovery, ammunition depletion, smoke, towing. Good Lord. Okay, well, he's got a lot of work on his hands, doesn't he, poor old Perry? Fake DR. Oh, yeah, we've had discussions about the fake DR before. I'll be interested in reading that. VCA changes. Optional remotion attempts, mechanical reliability, underbelly vertex. Okay, fixed VCA, CMG. Okay, apparently that's it. So now he didn't bring up the anomalous, stupid rule for end of map roads. Okay? So while you're at it, if you're going to fix VBM processes, why don't you fix that one, Perry? Okay, thank you. That would be awesome. That would be amazing. Okay, so Kharkov in flames, Andy Rogers. Yeah, he wink like his stuff. So that's cool. Okay, here, pre-combat check by John Deller. What's he talking about here? Oh, okay, he's trying to come up with a list of stuff that you better read before you play. That's probably a good idea. It's something I certainly don't do. Oh, very well. Okay, so boom, there we go. Operation Windsor, Battle of Copper K. Okay. All right, all in all, pretty good. I won't read all of these articles here. I do recommend, well, I don't know about this pocket edition. I wouldn't get it, but yes, I do have access to some of these rogue copies of the ASL rulebook, and they can be better because they refer to questions and answers, and they don't actually take into account, MMP, the one in charge of the rules. They don't have all of the rules questions put into their rule books that are electronic. They could and they should, but they don't. All right. End of unboxing, end of unbagging, whatever you want to call it. Let's look at this front cover. This is rather muddy painting here. I'm not particularly impressed with this artwork here. No, not the best. But overall, the usual stuff that you get, $40, it's a lot. But I definitely always want to get these maps. So if they're not deluxe maps, I will buy these modules. And if they're deluxe maps, I don't, because I'm not playing deluxe. That's it. End of tape. Cheerio.